Why are you acting like this? Why can't you just accept that I have needs that aren't being met? She complained. It doesn't have to affect us at all. We're not going to get divorced. I love you and I want to be with you for the rest of our lives. Well, too bad you don't always get what you want, I said. I want to have a wife who doesn't sleep with that creep Pierce. Did I get what I wanted? Did anyone ask me if I wanted to get sloppy seconds with him? I don't remember that conversation, Eric. I want to be a... You don't mind, do you? When did we have this conversation? Did you hear that conversation, Livy? No, I didn't hear that, she said. Did you really tell Daddy you wanted to be a mom? This is ridiculous, Cindy stood up. I can see that neither of you are adults. When you grow up, we can talk. If you're just going to insult me, we can just not talk, okay? I don't like listening to you anyway, Olivia said. Are you leaving, Mom? I've always wanted Daddy to be alone, Olivia said. He's adorable. I'm not going anywhere, Cindy shouted. Stop saying that. Oh, you're going somewhere? I told her. To hell, I hope. Maybe they have a rogue wing. I predict you'll be gone in a week. You imagine you're a virtuous, good man and act so sensible and so loving, but you're not. Now that we all know what you are, you can't bear our presence. You're just a rotten person, Cindy. You have no concept of right and wrong. We all know that now. I'm going to tell all our friends, our family, the people you work with, everyone. I'm going to enjoy it. How long do you think you can stand it? You won't tell anyone, she said. It would be too awkward for you. You just need time to get used to the idea that you're going to be very happy. You won't be hurt in the slightest, I promise. I love you, Eric, and I'll do anything to make you happy. Olivia burst into laughter. You really don't get it, do you? You have no idea how evil you are. All you do is ruin our entire family, your husband, and your marriage. No, you won't make him anything but miserable. His happiness is now my project. I couldn't help but squeeze her in gratitude. I had to vent some of my spleen. Cindy, do you remember George Cooper? Her face went pale. It's George Cooper, but the permanent one. Good luck with the rest of your life. You might even meet him again. You don't seem to be too picky about the people you sleep with, you bastard, she said. How can you talk about that? It's not like that at all, and you're the only man I've ever slept with. I didn't sleep with Elliot, Olivia, and I looked at each other. I was kind of shocked. The question was, did I believe her? And the other question was, did it matter? I decided it didn't. So what's holding you back? I asked her. Yes, she said. I need you to accept it, Elliot. And I have talked about it. If you really love me, you'll be happy for me that I found such an emotional outlet. He doesn't mind that I love you and that I would never leave you. It's just meeting my emotional needs. Olivia was hysterical. Oh my God, she gasped. She couldn't stop laughing. Mom, I never knew you were like this. Where did you get this nonsense from? Did that evil creep Elliot put that nonsense in your head? God, I hope I didn't get any genes from you. Cindy blushed, and I thought she was about to explode with rage. Olivia, you can go to your room, she said. I won't have you disrespecting me like that. Are you crazy? Asked Olivia. I'm 25 years old. I'm a grown woman. You can't send me to my room. I pay my house payment every 3 months just like you. I have my own wing. Why don't you go to your room? Oh wait, that's Daddy's room. Maybe we'll let you stay in one of the guest bedrooms until the divorce. I hate cheaters, and you're one of them. I hope that bastard was worth it. You know he molested every woman in the hospital, including your daughter. That's just a lie, shouted Cindy. He loves me. You're just making this up to hurt me. Why are you guys such? Don't you want me to be satisfied and happy? I needed to deal with this before things got out of hand, Cindy, I said. You're digging your own grave every time you open your mouth. I told her, you should stop talking. I accept that you need to be realized and happy. There's the door, chase your dreams. You need to give up the idea that you can have your cake and eat it too. You're a deal breaker, Cindy. If being with me was part of your self-actualization, you just threw that away. Maybe you can be realized with Pierce. I don't know, he looks like he's hard to fulfill with anything. He's an anemic little. He's getting ready to be unemployed. Maybe after the divorce, he'll have a pot to piss in, but I doubt it. I think his wife is smart enough to get a prenup. I'm sure her father is too. I, too, would be surprised if you keep your job. Her father is the president of the AMA in this state. When they find out what the two of you do, it could get ugly. We haven't done anything, she protested. There's no reason for any of this. You lied to me, tried to get Julia to lie for you, planned to hang horns on me along with that miserable bastard, and showed professional dishonesty. None of you were on duty when the emergency you were supposed to be covering arose. I don't think the board would approve that. Both of you could lose your license. We didn't do anything wrong. She began to panic. It looked like the script they developed was going off the rails. Besides, I don't believe you weren't having fun with him, Olivia said. You lied about everything else. I didn't have sex with him. I'm not lying, she said. Why should we believe anything you say? I asked her. At least you were going to. This is just as bad. You see what the problem is? We don't believe you. That's what happens when you start lying. Nobody believes anything you say. Worse, you tried to get Julia to lie for you. I heard you planning those lies, Cindy. I think you should go see if Pierce has any more good ideas. I'm not going anywhere, she said. You'll probably change the locks while I'm gone. Olivia and I looked at each other and almost choked with laughter. Cindy had no idea what we were laughing about, but she didn't like it one bit. I don't know what you find funny about this situation, but I don't find anything funny about it, she muttered. No, it's an inside joke, I said. The situation isn't funny, it's pathetic. You're pathetic, Cindy. Now back off. Olivia and I were doing something. She was yelling and crying and freaking out, but Olivia just kept turning up the volume on the TV. We have an amazing sound system, and we just ignored her. Finally, she went into the kitchen and heated up some chicken. She came back and tried to sit on the couch with us, but we moved to my big chair. Finally, she got fed up. Fine, she shouted through the TV. Just act like a couple of spoiled brats. I'm going to bed. When she reached the bedroom door, she found it locked. Olivia turned off the television for a moment. Your stuff is in the blue room, she said affectionately. That's Daddy's room. She turned up the volume again, and Cindy just stood there watching us. Then she walked out into the hallway. When she closed the door, I kissed Livy, and we went to bed. In the morning, I left for work before they got up, but nothing was happening there. Jack was in a meeting and left an order for me to take the day off. That was good because I had an appointment with Paul's partner. Her name was Jasmine Albright, and she was one hell of an impressive lady. She was in her early 40s, and she just radiated class, tall, slender, with a mane of blonde hair. She was just gorgeous. She was smart as a whip and got me cleaned up pretty quickly. The rest of the day, I ran around town doing all the weird things she wanted me to do. I visited the bank, the insurance agency, the HR department at work, and our investment advisor. I sat on the phone for ages, talking to people who didn't understand English, getting credit cards changed, policies amended, and a million other things. I was exhausted. I had one more stop to make. I went to the grocery store and bought 3 dozen eggs. I took them to Samantha's house, and when Cecilia opened the door, I was struck again by how beautiful she was. She was so tiny and cute. She looked to be about 14, but I knew she was in her second semester of college. The slender boy was absent, and I was glad for that. Cecilia gave me a hug and invited me in. I walked into Starbucks and bought 3 coffees and 3 poppy seed muffins. Samantha was reading a magazine in a comfortable chair in the living room, and her face lit up at the sight of me. She tried to get up, but I hurried over and knelt beside her chair. I put my arms around her, and she kissed me on the cheek. The 3 of us sat there drinking coffee and eating muffins, talking. Samantha was feeling much better and couldn't stop telling me how much she loved Olivia. We talked about Cecilia's schoolwork. She wanted to be an educational administrator. She was going to transfer to a 4-year school after graduating from a community college and was working hard to get a scholarship. I was spontaneously admiring her. She had huge brown eyes in a small face. Her hair was just a curly mop about a foot long and covered her right eye most of the time. One tiny ear was visible, and it was pointed like an elf's. In general, she looked like someone's fantasy drawing of a magical creature. She caught my gaze a couple of times but only smiled and winked. I stayed for half an hour and kissed them both goodbye. I promised that I would visit them again soon, and as I left, I felt that I had made 2 good friends. I decided that I would visit them often and see if they needed anything. They didn't mention any men in their lives, and a slender young man didn't seem very comfortable to me. Livy was home when I arrived, and I invited her over for a barbecue. I told her about my day, and she said Pierce had taken Cindy somewhere for a long time. I guess they were planning their strategy well. I was executing mine, and everything was going well. We both went to bed before Cindy got home. She knocked on the bedroom door, but I put in my earplugs and just went to bed. In the morning, I left, and there was a note on the table for me. Cindy decided we needed to talk and asked me to wait for her that night. Work was back to normal, but I was out of sorts. Allison came in to discuss some sales-related issues, and I couldn't concentrate. The 3rd time she had to shake me up, she asked what was going on with me. "I'm sorry, Ally. I'm not at my best today," I told her. "Well, you'd better go over there," she said. "What's the problem?" "I'm getting a divorce," I told her. Her jaw dropped. "What the hell, Eric? What did you do?" she exclaimed. "I didn't do anything," I said. "Well, I may have done a lot of things, but Cindy came home and announced that she was in a relationship with that creep Pierce. It won't affect our marriage in any way. She'll make sure I'm not unhappy, but she has to fulfill her needs." Jesus Christ, she exploded. "What the hell does that even mean?" "I have no idea," I told her. She was talking some crap about emotional fulfillment. She insists she hasn't slept with him, but she's going to, and if I love her, I should let her be happy. She got up and walked over to the bar. She poured us each a couple of fingers of her good bourbon, came back, and sat down. Allison is one of the most beautiful women I've ever met. She just screams sensuality every time you look at her. It's almost impossible to put into words. Her body is just perfect. She chews up men like a shark chews up a bait fish. I was always about half afraid of her, but she didn't hate it, and it became probably my best friend. There was always tension between us, but we dealt with it. She was also Olivia's best friend. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "You're not planning any stupid revenge plans, are you?" I laughed. "No, I just want to get this over with and move on. I've wasted too much time as it is. I just don't care, ally. I'm just tired. I'm too old and too numb to conspire. I'm going to take Pierce down, but I'm not going to kick his ass or anything. I'm not going to do anything illegal. His ass is in a bind, but he doesn't know it. I don't care about him enough to kick his ass. I was wrong, but I didn't know it at the time. I really believe that if they had just left me alone, everything would have been fine. Alison spent the rest of the day with me, and it was very good for my ego. She made me promise to take her out to dinner Friday night, and I headed home. When I opened the door, there was a lot of yelling inside. Cindy and Pierce were sitting on the couch, and Olivia was standing in front of them, reading them a funeral prayer. She poked her finger at his chest, and he made the mistake of brushing her hand away before he realized what hit him. She grabbed his hair and pulled his nose down to meet her rising knee. The nose didn't win in this fight. So I pulled him out the door by his hair when we got to the porch. Olivia kicked him in the ribs, and I pulled him against me, throwing him off the porch into a barberry bush. He squealed as if mauled by house cats, writhing on the ground. The thorns scratched him bloody, and he crawled to the curb, getting into a parked car. As he sped away, burning rubber, Olivia burst into laughter, and we separated in different directions. On the porch, Cindy wasn't laughing. "I can't believe you did that," she shouted. "We came here to have a civilized conversation, and you acted like savages. I can't believe you did this to this nice man. You didn't even give him a chance. You would have liked him if you had just given him a chance." "I gave him a chance," I told her. "I didn't kill him, so he has a chance to start running when he sees me." "Back off, Cindy, baby. Do you want to go to a movie?" I asked Olivia. We cleaned up, changed clothes, and as Cindy stood in the hallway looking at us rapturously, we went for a walk. We watched a really bad movie that Olivia loved and I hated, then went to eat wings. When we got home, Cindy was gone. Maybe something urgent had happened at the hospital involving the removal of the barbs. Friday night, I took Alison out to dinner and we went to the club. My conscience was clear, my marriage was over. She was an amazing dancer, giving me all I could handle. Guys were always asking her to dance, and she said she wouldn't dare come unaccompanied. I volunteered to accompany her anytime. "There aren't many hot women on my social calendar," I told her. She grinned. "Well, I'll agree with you. I've had a crush on you since I was 15, you know." "Yeah, I've noticed you pining," I laughed. "I've been scared to death of you since you turned 15. "I know," she said. "I would never hurt you. You know that, don't you, Eric?" "I know, honey," I told her. "I'm not really that afraid of you. You're very loyal to the ones you love. If I found the right guy, I'd be very devoted to him too." She nuzzled her face into my chest as we danced. "That person could be you, Eric," she whispered. "I'm honored, ally," I told her. "I'm really upset right now. I don't know if I'll ever get over it. Remind me again when you decide I'm healthy, okay?" "Count on it," she said. "Take me home, Eric, before I attack you." "I hope my batteries are in good shape today," we laughed, and I drove her home. She pounced on me at the door, and it was the hottest of my life. She didn't try to continue it, and I was grateful. My bruised ego felt much better after that. When I got home, Cindy was still awake and trying to start something, but I felt too good to listen to her ramblings. I went to bed, closing the door behind me. I didn't feel like getting up on Saturday morning. I lay in bed and tried to make plans for the day. Finally, I got up, and Cindy made coffee. I ate a brownie and drank a cup. She came in and said we needed to talk. No, we don't need to talk, I told her. Every word you say just makes me angrier. You need to stop talking. Where do you want to get the papers? My lawyer told me the papers will be ready on Monday. Do you want them handed to you at work or here? I'm tearing up these papers, she said. Why can't you understand that I don't want a divorce? Yes, you do want a divorce, I told her. Everything you've done since you started having fun with Pierce has been heading toward that inevitable end. If you didn't want a divorce, you wouldn't have started this. Maybe I made a mistake, she said. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I don't want to lose you, Eric. I didn't think you'd react this way. You knew perfectly well I'd react this way, I told her. What made you think differently? Think back to the last time you pulled something like that. We were just immature kids then. I thought you were more mature now, she said. Yes, I told her, and you don't. Mature people don't act like you do. Hell, Olivia is more mature than you. All people are more mature than you, and you act like you're in high school. It's hopeless. You're hopeless. Why don't you go hang out with Pierce? You two seem to be alike. I went outside and started the lawnmower. She sat on the deck and watched me while I mowed the backyard. When I opened the gate and started mowing the front yard, she sat on the porch and watched. I got out the weed knife and trimmed everything, and Olivia came out and went swimming. She sunbathed for a while, and I went into the house and took a shower. I put on my swim trunks, grabbed a couple of beers, and headed over to her place. We had a few water fights, sat on the edge of the pool, drank beer, and had a little father-daughter interaction. She had a date that night, and I wondered what I could do to get my mind off Cindy. I called Cecilia and asked if I could bring dinner for her and Samantha. She seemed to love the idea, and I cooked most of the day. I'm a pretty good cook, and I put my best foot forward. Cindy asked me twice what I was cooking, but I just ignored her. I packed a cooler in a basket, and drove to their house. Cecilia helped me, and we heated some things up and opened one of the bottles of wine I had brought. They were very impressed with my cooking skills. I even made a chocolate cake, and it was one of my best attempts. They seemed like old friends to me. I felt very comfortable with them, and we talked about nothing and everything. Cecilia asked me if I wanted to go for a walk, and as full as I was, it seemed like a good idea. We started walking, and she quickly put her little brown hand in my big one. I felt like I was walking with a little girl. She was bouncing and chattering like a little girl too. She was absolutely adorable and very sweet. I put my arm around her and pulled her close to me. She wrapped her arms around my waist and pressed her hip against my thigh as we walked. It made me very sad. I remembered all the walks I'd taken with Cindy that went like this. Cecilia must have sensed something wrong because she looked over to me. "Are you okay, Eric?" she asked. "It has nothing to do with my current company," I told her. "It's something else. I don't want to ruin the mood. I really enjoy spending time with you and Samantha." "I'm a very good listener," she said. "My wife told me last week that she's having an affair with another man," I said. "She says she hasn't slept with him yet." I don't believe her, but the idea that I have to put up with this because she needs it just boggles my mind. This is what she told me: "It has nothing to do with us. I just need to be emotionally fulfilled and happy." "Oh my God!" exclaimed Cecilia. "Eric, I'm sorry, but she looks like an idiot." "How long have you been married?" 27 years, I told her. I don't know if I've just been blind and stupid all this time or if she suddenly went crazy. I needed to get away from her, and I lashed out at you. I'm sorry. Nonsense, she said. You can impose on me any time you want. I really, really like you, Eric. What are you going to do? At this rate, I'm going to divorce her, I said. She doesn't see anything wrong with what she's doing, and I can't be married to someone who doesn't see anything wrong with it. No, me neither. I'm so sorry, Eric. I can't imagine what you're feeling right now. It's not right now that it's bothering me, I admitted. I'm with you, and you make me forget about my problems for a while. Being with you and Samantha makes me feel like there's a normal place in the world where I can just look in and feel like I belong. I know I have friends and people who care about me. Thank you, Cecilia. She looked up at me and turned, wrapping her arms around me, snuggling against me with her tiny body, and burying her face in my chest. I'm here anytime you need me, she said. I'll never forget what you did for Grandma. She asks me every day if I've seen the hospital bill. You didn't have to pay for her, but you did. You will always be special to us, Eric. I know you're confused right now. Just let me know when you've sorted it out, okay? Then I'll have something to tell you. We walked and talked for 2 hours, sitting on benches. Sometimes she would snuggle up to me, and her little palm would be clasped in mine. I learned that her mother was a drug addict and sold her body to get drugs. She had died of hepatitis 5 years earlier, and Cecilia had been living with Samantha since her mother died. The slender young man I met was her cousin. Her mother's brother had followed a similar path, but died of a gunshot wound. Her cousin's name was Ty, and as I suspected, he was gay. He had his own apartment but was seen quite often. I loved talking to her. She was smart and funny, and you could bond with her, but that didn't happen for a while. I was too frustrated and too wound up to even think about a romantic interest. We were walking back, and Samantha offered me another cup of coffee. I took it, and we talked for a bit before I headed home. Olivia was home by then, and we sat together on the couch while she told me about her date. Cindy came in and sat down. I guess she wanted to listen, but Olivia stopped talking and just stared at her. What? Asked Cindy. I'm interested in my daughter's life. You shouldn't get too carried away, Olivia said. You're not going to be in it for very long. Don't you have somewhere to go? Surely Pierce would want you to socialize with his children. He must be lonely, poor sweet man. Maybe you should go and comfort him, and Daddy and I will console ourselves by talking about our family, which you've tried with all your might to destroy. Of course, this made her angry, and she spent a long time yelling about how selfish we are and that no one cares about her and what she needs. Cindy, you seem to care about yourself and what you need in isolation. I told her, you don't need any help. We're going out to dinner. Where are we going? She asked. Well, we, as in me and Olivia, I told her. You can date Pierce, she screamed for a long time before we left. It was interesting to me that she just kept yelling. After we got home, Livy and I played Trivial Pursuit, and she tried to play with us. She made popcorn, asked if we wanted it, and just mocked us until we went to bed. When I went to work on Monday, I was so normal that I even managed to get some things done. When I got home, Cindy was waiting for me. She had Monday off and was obviously busy. When Olivia walked in, dinner was already on the table. She had cooked everything she could, and it was delicious. She always knew how to cook. She tried to make normal conversation, but we mostly ignored her. I went and met Allison at the bar, and we talked for a while and played pool. She's a pool shark too, and she took me up on it. Olivia called me around 8 and asked me to meet her at the Riverside Hotel. She said it was very important, but she didn't say why, just that it was important and I should hurry. Alison wanted to come, and as we pulled up, I saw Olivia's dart across the street. She came over and sat Alison next to me as she got into the car. "Hi Ally," she said. "Dad, Mom left right after you did. She was on the phone, and I think she was talking to Pierce. I followed her, and they came here. They checked into a room and stayed there for about 20 minutes. I have the evidence. We argued about it for a long time. Alison thought it was stupid and dangerous, and I really didn't want to know." Olivia turned the argument around by saying that if Cindy tried to resist the divorce, I could threaten her with a video. That seemed reasonable to me, and Alison came around too. I went to the counter and asked the guy what room my wife was in. I told him I had to meet her, and he checked my ID, and gave me a key card. We stopped in front of the door, and Olivia had the camera ready. When we opened the door, Cindy and Pierce were having fun. She jumped to her feet and screamed, "What the hell are you doing here? This is a private room. We were just leaving." I told her, "Well, so much for I didn't have sex with him." "You made me do it," she shouted. "You made me do it. If you hadn't been such an everything would have been so nice and loving." "No, you had to be a hard high, Cindy," Alison said. "Some women like pathetic wimps. She took my hand, and I like strong tall. Get your hands off my husband," screamed Cindy. We turned and walked away, and I closed the door. We walked back to the truck, and I was in a sort of daze. Alison got behind the wheel, and Olivia followed us to Freddy's. We sat down to a cocktail, and they started talking. They noticed I was quiet, and they moved closer to me. "Eric, I know it's bad, but it's not the end of the world," Alison said. "You're going to be okay. You have people who love you. I love you. Olivia loves you. Everything is going to be okay. I know things look bad, but I have news for you that will change everything. I'll tell you tomorrow at work. You have a meeting with your dad at 10 o'clock. It'll shake things up a bit, but it's just what you need right now. Take me back to the car." I stepped out between two of the most beautiful girls on the planet, and I felt good. Not so much that everything felt good, but good nonetheless. I took Ally back to the bar and headed home. Olivia was waiting for me, and we talked for a while. About an hour later, Cindy came in. "I stopped for gas on the way home, and my credit cards aren't working," she said. "What did you do, Eric?" "Well, since we're getting divorced, we can't have joint cards anymore," I told her. "We also have separate bank accounts now. I have one, you have one, and there's a third one that Olivia is in also for household expenses. I put half of our savings and half of our investment accounts into your checking account. You'll have to get your own credit cards if you need them. The server said you tore up the papers. I suggest you get new ones and sign them. If you don't, I will send your new pornographic video to your parents." "You bastard," she shouted. "I should have known better. How do I get new papers?" "That's your problem." I told her, "I bought you the first set. I've made an appointment with a realtor. She's going to tell us how much the house is worth. You have two options, you can buy me out, or I can buy you out. But I have to tell you that you won't be able to make the payments if you decide to buy me out." "I'm not doing anything," she said. "The divorce is going to take a long time. I don't see the point in doing anything until the divorce is final." "It'll take about a month," Olivia told her. "No, it doesn't," Cindy said. "I know it takes longer. We're going to file for a simplified divorce." I told her, "There are no children to argue custody over. I won't pay you child support, and we will agree on the division of assets. I'll give you half of our assets. We can have a final hearing 20 days after the petition is filed. You make 3 times as much as me, she said. I think you should pay me alimony. Well, I have a video that says I shouldn't do it, I pointed out. Besides, if you mess with me, you'll be out of a job, and I predict you'll lose your license to practice. She argued and ranted until Olivia and I left and locked ourselves in our bedrooms. Somehow, she managed to sign the papers, and we scheduled a hearing. I drew up all the property division papers, and she signed them as well. Every day for 27 days, she told me she didn't want a divorce. She loved me, and it was all just a misunderstanding on my part. As the hearing approached, she became more and more desperate. 3 days before the hearing, she left me a note that she needed to talk to me. Olivia and I asked that we please wait until she got home from work. She ran upstairs and took a quick shower, then came back downstairs and got us all a beer each. She asked us to sit around the bar in the kitchen and talk to us while she made something to eat. It was obvious that she was very nervous, and didn't know how to start. She took a couple of bites from her dinner and just stared at us for a minute. It was unreal. We had been here so many times, and now it was over. I had no idea what she wanted. Finally, she sighed and began. Eric, Olivia, I want to apologize to both of you, she said. I've made some terrible mistakes. I never dreamed all of this would happen. I never thought it would come to this. I completely misjudged you, Eric. I expected you to understand and support me. I realize now that that was a mistake. I get it. No, you're not wrong, I told her. It wasn't a mistake. You still don't see anything wrong with what you did. In your mind, the problem isn't what you did, it's that I didn't understand or support you. It was just my emotional need. Why can't you understand that I love you, Eric? I always have and always will. Why are you so jealous and immature? Well, I remember something about us standing in front of 100 people and promising each other to leave everyone else behind, I told her. And before that, you said you understood me and that what you did then would never happen again. It did, only this time it's worse. It's not that I don't understand and support you, Cindy, it's that you are lying, deceitful, and unfaithful. You did this, not me. Oh, please, now she was disgusted. What about all the time you spend with Allison? I know about you and her. You don't know, I told her. I never laid a finger on that girl. But don't think I didn't think about it. You know what kept me from doing it. I was married to you. I loved you with every fiber of my being, and the thought that I might betray you hurt. You kept me from ever having a relationship, let alone sex, with anyone else. I've never been with any other woman, sexually or otherwise, and all the time I've been exclusively with you. It's all because of you. I don't believe you, she said. I believe you, Olivia said. You're the only one I don't believe. Of course, Daddy's little angel, shouted Cindy. You always hated me, and you were on his side. Olivia's just mad at everyone around you because you screwed up yourself, I said. Now you say you're apologizing. For what? For getting caught. What's the big deal? You have no idea what you're talking about, Cindy shouted. Of course, I do, Olivia grinned. That's pathetic, Mom, and you left Dad for this. I didn't throw anything away, she cried. I never wanted any of this to happen. I don't want a divorce. I love you, Eric. Can't you see that? No, I just see a supremely selfish woman who needs to get her needs met regardless of the damage she does to others, I said. Are we done? No, Cindy sobbed. What do I have to do to make things right? I'll do whatever you want me to do. Please don't divorce me, Eric. Let Daddy speak for himself, though, Eric. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Okay, don't sneak around behind my back, don't date other men, don't lie to me, I said. Oh wait, you've already done all that. The train has left the station, Cindy. We've had a few happy years. I'm not going to burn your house to the ground. I'm willing to give you half of everything we have, except Olivia. Thank God she's all grown up. I'll keep her. I don't need half of everything, I just need you, Eric. She turned and walked up the stairs, looking like she was a zombie. 3 days later, the divorce was finalized, and Olivia and I moved to a new place. We found a nice 3-bedroom apartment not too far from the hospital where she worked, and not too far from my job. We went furniture shopping and finally made the apartment feel like home. I put the house on the market, and Cindy couldn't take it anymore. When I got home from work, she was standing, leaning against my truck. "What do you want, Cindy?" I asked. "Where am I supposed to live?" she asked. "Don't you think this has gone on long enough, Eric? How long are you going to stay mad at me? Can't we just move on before it's too late? Are you really going to sell the house, or is this just a lesson to me?" "If it's a lesson, I learned it." "Okay, now stop it and come home. I realize now I made a mistake. Can't you forgive me?" "I forgive you," I said. "Now, would you mind stepping away from my door so I can go home?" She left to her car, and I went home, not to the old house, but to the new one. I'd been there about an hour when the phone rang. It was Jack. "Eric, we have a meeting at 10 in the morning," he said. "That's the one we were supposed to have a while ago. We had some problems, but everything is on track now. It's important, and I want you to be on top of it. Allison told me about what's going on in your life. I want to know that you can handle it." I told him I was fine and that I would be ready. I really was fine. I surprised myself. Upon reflection, I realized it was almost inevitable. What was surprising was that it lasted as long as it did. There was something wrong with Cindy's moral compass. She'd always been like this. The only thing holding her in the right direction was the fear of losing me. I made such an impression on her after the George Cooper story that she didn't forget it for 27 years. The idea that her needs had to be met finally overcame her fear, and she began to act on it. I had lost a lot of time. I was 46 years old and had to start planning the rest of my life. I called Allison to see if she wanted to hang out. She had a date. I called Samantha and invited her and Cecilia to dinner. They were free, so I made reservations at Gino's. It was a nice Italian restaurant that I had been to before. It was a little pricey there, but the tetrazzini was unbeatable. I took the car out to drive them. I didn't feel like driving a truck up to a nice restaurant. They made it to my house, and I let them in when they rang the doorbell. They oohed and ahed about the new place, and I treated them to a glass of wine and gave them the grand tour. When we were ready, I took them to the garage. Cecilia started jumping up and down. "Oh my God," she shrieked. "What is it?" I looked around for a spider or something. "What is it, Cecilia?" "That's quite a car, I like it." "What is it?" she asked. "It's a 1951 Mercury," I said. "Do you want to ride in it?" "Hell yeah," she practically drooled. "What's in it?" she asked. "Don't tell me it's one of those cheesy 302s. "No, I don't really like that engine," I told her. "They used to put them in Mustangs, but they broke in half at over 500 horsepower. It was a Windsor 351, that's a stroker, And this is a 48, making about 540 horsepower and 575 pounds per foot of torque. Tell me you're not a gearhead enthusiast. I like hot dogs. She snatched the keys out of my hand. It took her a minute to realize there were no door handles on the car, but she pressed the remote and the doors opened. We jumped into the car, and she started it. A rumble filled the garage. She was like a kid in a candy store, her eyes were flashing, her hair was flying in different directions, and she was just adorable. She saw the nitrous oxide switch and squealed, "I have to try this." She couldn't wait. She backed up and smoked the tires heading down the street. Samantha shrieked, and I buckled her seatbelt in mine, too. Cecilia laughed nervously, Eric terrified. I told her she really was a very good driver. She kept in the fast lane and was going about 6 or 7 miles per hour over the speed limit. We pulled onto an empty stretch of highway, and she looked at me with one eyebrow raised. I looked back at Samantha, and she was grinning like the Cheshire Cat. "Hang in there," I told her. Cecilia hit it, and we found ourselves pressed into our seats. She hit the switch, and the nitrous turned on. We were flying. When she turned off the switch and came back down, her teeth were gleaming, and she was just vibrating with excitement. "Thank you, Eric," she threw me a glance. "I've always wanted to do this." "Anything to make my girl happy," I said. She threw me another glare that made my clothes go up in smoke. We had a great dinner. I kissed them both goodbye and put them in Cecilia's car. Samantha hugged me and whispered in my ear, "She likes you, Eric. Be nice to her." I winked at her, and she got in the car. I went around to everyone and asked Cecilia if she would agree to go to the lake with me on Saturday. She was a little hesitant but agreed, and I set up a time to pick her up. Olivia pulled up just then and said hello. Something seemed a little strange to me, but they only talked for a minute. She took my hand, and we waved as they drove away. "She's the sweetest person I've ever seen," she admitted. "Age bothers me. A little, Daddy. I'm still in good shape," I told her. "Yeah, but her arm is broken," she looked at me slightly. I burst out laughing. "I think Samantha is too big a woman for me." I squeezed Olivia in a hug. "God, I love you, baby," I told her. "Me too," she said. We walked into the house, and she told me about her date. We talked for a while and went to bed. I was completely unprepared for the next morning. I don't know how you can prepare for something like that. When I arrived, there was a Nordic-looking gentleman sitting in the office. Inside were 3 men who looked like lawyers, our company lawyer Jack, and Allison, and they all looked very serious. Jack introduced me, and the Nordic guy's name was something unpronounceable. "Eric, we're selling the business," Jack told me. "I'm ready to retire. Allison doesn't need the company, but she wants to work. The only way I'll agree to the sale and the only condition they put on the purchase is that you become president of the company and regional vice president at the parent company. I have prepared a package of documents for you to look at. I think you'll like it." He held out the folder to me. I didn't look at him. "What about Ally?" I asked. She smiled happily at me. "I'm moving into your old job," she said. "I'm promoting my assistant and getting a big compensation package myself. Thanks for thinking of me, Eric." I squeezed her hand. "Okay, I'll look into it," I said. "When do I have to make a decision?" I had 2 weeks. That night, I took Allison out to dinner. She wanted to go dancing afterward, and we had a great time. We had just sat down at the table after a hot number, and I saw Allison's eyes narrow. She was looking over my shoulder. I turned to look and saw Cindy, and she was dragging him by the arm, and it was obvious he wanted no part of it. Cindy lowered herself into the booth across from us and pulled him behind her. Allison nodded. Cindy, Needle Dick, it's so good to see you. Cindy became furious. Allison, I don't think you're in a position to call someone names. I know your life. It didn't take you long to move in with my husband, did it? I think we're divorced, Cindy, I remarked. Then I'm not your husband. Maybe it slipped your mind. I don't date married men, Allison said. I wonder if you can say the same. Is Nick here? Divorced. I know his wife has filed for divorce, but I haven't heard that it's been finalized. Yeah, and we all know who's to blame for his wife kicking him out of the house and not letting him see the kids, Cindy snapped back. Did you really have to send her that video, Eric? You ruined a good man's marriage. I think you also had something to do with getting us both fired. I hope you're pleased with yourself. Well, I pretty much think so. I told her I'm no longer married to a cheating scumbag who ruined 2 marriages. He's in a world of hurt right now, and I think you're both the ones responsible for everything that's happened to you. I heard the state is going to revoke his license, something about him not being in the emergency room when the emergency arose. I hope your needs are being met, emotions okay. Everything has been great, but I think you should take a deep breath and leave. Olivia hasn't spoken to me since you moved out. She said, did you really have to sick her on me too? It's all on your conscience. I told her I haven't said one bad word about you. The thing is, we don't talk about you at all, Cindy. You hurt us, but we move on. Call her if you want to talk to her. She won't return my calls, she snapped back. She blocked me. How is that my problem? I asked. Maybe she's getting her needs met now. It's time for you to go. I didn't invite you to sit down, and I'm going to see if Dick's nose is healed. He left unceremoniously, and Cindy left out of breath. I didn't care as long as she left. I stood up and pulled Allison to me for another dance. The song changed to a slow number, and she pressed herself against me. I'm sorry, Eric, she said into my shoulder. It's not your fault. I'm sorry she ruined the party, I said. She raised amber-colored eyes full of smoke at me. Who says it's tainted? She asked. I looked down at the vision in my hands. I wasn't kidding when I said I loved you, she said. I never thought I'd get the chance. I love you too, I said. You're my best friend. You wouldn't even go to dinner with me if it wasn't a business, she laughed. Yeah, but I didn't trust myself with you, I laughed. I didn't trust you either, for that matter. I know you, Allison. You'd eat me up and spit the bones out. You are so wrong, she said. I've been looking for someone like you my whole life. You just set the bar so high that I could never find a guy like that. I would never hurt you, Eric. I think you've created an image of me in your imagination that doesn't match reality. I'm 10 years older than you, even though you look 20-something. I'm easygoing, moderately tough, and a little broken. Yes, I know all about it, she said. I've been working with you for years. Sometimes you piss me off. You're so damn stubborn when you think you're right. But you're willing to die for the ones you love. You have no idea how attractive you are to me. You're still a little boy at heart, Eric. You've had a lot of growing up to do lately. You don't seem to be embarrassed by Cecilia's age. Take me home, Eric, she said. We got to her house, got down to it, and after a while, she started crying. I was shocked. I'd never seen her cry in all the years I'd known her. I know I am what I seem to be, she gasped. I was meant to be like this. The only man I ever wanted was someone I couldn't have. I could have been anything for you, I swear, Eric. If you give me a chance, you'll never regret it. I believe you, baby, I told her. I've never seen you hurt anyone you love. I trust you. Let's go ahead and see what happens, okay? Will you go on dates with me? I forgot how it's supposed to happen. I never thought I'd need to know it again. I know, she whispered. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. I have a meeting out of town tomorrow afternoon, but I'll be very free as soon as I get back. I thought. I was completely exhausted, completely drained, but she proved me wrong at 5:30 in the morning. Then I took a shower and rushed home to change. Olivia walked in when I had already rushed out and looked at me. Daddy, I need to talk to you tonight, she said. Okay, baby, I kissed her cheek. I grabbed my bagel and headed out. When Allison walked into work, she saw me staring at her and said, keep thinking like that. When I get back, we'll close the door. Jesus, ally, I peeked out from behind the door, Marlo will hear you. Fortunately, my assistant wasn't at his desk. After Allison left, work became routine, and I left at 4:30. I was exhausted, and I was looking forward to taking a quick nap. Olivia had just gotten home when I walked in and went to change. The doorbell rang, and when I opened it, Cecilia was standing there. She rushed inside and hugged me. Would you like something to drink? I asked her. She wanted a beer, and I got one too. We sat down on the couch, and she snuggled up against me. Eric, there's something I want to talk to you about, she said. Uh-oh, I thought to myself, life is getting complicated. I looked down at her. The thing was, she was younger than Olivia. I liked being around her, hell, I liked everything about her, but I saw insurmountable challenges, even aside from Allison. I waited for her to speak. I don't know how to tell you, she finally uttered. I'm very grateful to you for what you did for Grandma, and you've been so good to us ever since. I know you like me, Eric. I know what I look like, and most guys think I'm pretty. You're a very nice-looking man. When we met, I felt like there was something between us, and I was attracted to you, but I don't think it's going to work out, and I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to hurt you either. I squeezed her. I know, I said. I'm flattered as hell that you think of me that way. I really want to be your friend. I want us to be buddies for the rest of my life. The thing is, there's an amazing woman in my life, 3 of them to be exact, but there's only one I really want to be with. I'm really excited about it, I said. It makes everything so much easier. I think I'm going to be in your life for a long time, Eric, she said. I kind of have someone too, anyone I know? I asked. Sort of, Olivia muttered from the doorway. Do you mind if I go with you and Cecilia to the lake on Saturday? I must have looked like a complete fool, my gaze darted back and forth between them, and Olivia burst out laughing. She came over and nuzzled against me from the other side. I finally managed to pull myself together. I didn't know you girls skated like that, I whispered. They both found it amusing. We both like men too, Cecilia said. When we met at the hospital, it was just love at first sight. Olivia called me and asked me out. We had 2 dates, and I think I found the other half of my soul with her. She feels the same way about me. Don't you like that, Eric? I hugged them both tightly. Not at all, I assured them. The 2 girls I love each other. What's there to hate? I'm very happy for both of you. Now I'll have 2 gorgeous girls with me at the lake on Saturday, I said. I'm sure there will be 3 of them, Olivia said. I invited Allison. I seem to attract strong women, I sighed. Isn't that fantastic? My friend quipped, clearly pleased. Spending time with Allison made me forget about my exhaustion at work, Olivia's observation was spot on. I was genuinely happy. Thanks to Cindy's persistent meddling, our relationship faced some hurdles, but Olivia managed to handle it. Eventually, Cindy backed off, and Olivia informed me she had relocated to Oklahoma City, which suited me just fine. After 3 months of Allison's persistence, I surrendered and moved in with her. She was everything I ever wanted. 8 months later, I organized a dinner gathering with Allison, Olivia, and Cecilia, having already made a significant decision. As dessert arrived, I signaled the waiter, and he presented 4 slices of cake. Each slice bore a small swan figurine holding a ring attached to a ribbon. As Allison's eyes filled with tears of joy, I asked her to marry me. Ecstatic, she accepted, and I knew my future with her would be incredible. The following Monday, I played golf with Jack, enjoying both the game and our banter. As I made a particularly impressive shot, Jack joked about needing to improve his game or enlist Allison's help to wear me down. With a grin, I teased him about his next shot, and we continued our friendly competition. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content.